Okay, so today we're going to talk about diction and tone. Let me make this full screen for you guys. Diction and tone, because tomorrow you'll be doing a worksheet with your team that you sit with at your tables on this topic. So make sure you kind of understand it. Not sure why the video is kind of looking weird today, but the most important thing that I want you guys to pay attention to is the PowerPoint. So let's go through it. First of all, diction refers to the author's choice of words. And tone is the attitude or feeling that the writer's words express. So let me be really clear on that. Diction has to do with the author's choice of words, the words that he or she is choosing to put into the story or the poem or whatever it is you're reading. So what kind of words are they choosing to use? You use words purposefully if you're a writer. So you pick your words for a reason, because you want to create a certain tone for the readers. You want to create a certain attitude or a feeling as the readers are reading your book. When analyzing diction, consider such questions as, is the language concrete, like really clear, definite, no doubt what the author's talking about, or is it abstract, where you have to do some interpretation and you try to figure out what it means? Are the words monosyllabic, meaning do they only have one syllable, or are they multiple syllables in each word? So are they really big words that the author's using, or really small words? And it could be different depending on, is it the narrator that's describing things? Is it a character that's speaking in dialogue? Maybe there are characters that use really large words with many syllables, and there are other characters that use one-syllable words all the time. Do the words have interesting connotations to them? Like, do they have different meanings to them? Is the diction formal, like really high, elevated vocabulary, very formal words, very sophisticated words, or are the words very colloquial, very conversational? Is there slang being used? Are they informal words being used? Is there any change in the level of diction in the passage? Like when you're reading the story, does the diction change? Does the level change depending on who's talking, what characters are talking? And what can the reader infer about the speaker or the speaker's attitude from the word choice? For instance, if there's a speaker or a character that's always cussing, what can we infer about that speaker? Are they educated? Are they uneducated? Are they angry? Things like that. So, for instance, if there are a lot of concrete words being used, then maybe the material itself seems very childlike because it doesn't take much thought to understand it. If there are a lot of abstract words being used, then it requires more mature thinking. If there are just one-syllable words being used, then you have a lot of intellectually inferior, maybe, characters in the story. But if there are more sophisticated characters, then they're going to use, or more educated characters, they're going to use more words that have many syllables in them. Formal words tend to show educated people. Colloquial words show more illiterate people. Colloquial meaning those simple, conversational, slangy type words. And if there's a change in the type of diction, does that indicate that maybe there was an epiphany by a character, like, oh, I get it all now. And so now they're speaking a little bit differently because there's been a change in their thought process, how they're thinking, how they view things. So words can have denotative meanings or connotative meanings. When I ask you what the denotative meaning of a word is, then that means what's their literal dictionary definition of the word. So plump and obese both mean calorically challenged, meaning that there's too many calories being taken in. That might be their denotative meaning. Connotative means the implied or suggestive meaning that's attached to the word. What's the emotional tag that goes with a particular word? Because if you're talking about like a plump, ripe tomato, all right, then connotatively you're thinking sweet, juicy, delicious, right? So it depends on what's the connotative, what's the implied or suggestive meaning that goes with the word, how is it being used? What do we emotionally tag with that? Like, oh, yum, that's going to taste delicious, and it's going to make me feel like summertime or whatever it is. So let's look at examples down below. You have the words skinny, scrawny, emaciated, bony, thin, trim, teeny tiny, anorexic, slender, small, slender, and skeletal, okay? Which word do we use when we want to insult somebody? When we want to make fun of them? When we want to be mean to somebody? Which of those words do we use to describe someone we like? And which one of those words do we describe like a cute little baby? Because they all have the same denotative meaning. Slender, thin, whatever it is, they all have the same denotative meaning. But connotatively, we choose carefully what words we want to use if we want to add attitude, if we want to add tone. The choice of diction contributes to the tone. When discussing tone, consider things such as, what seems to be the speaker's attitude in this passage? Is more than one attitude or point of view expressed? Does the passage have a noticeable emotional mood or atmosphere? And can anything in the passage be described as ironic, like, wow, I can't believe that happened, coincidental? Those are all things that give us an attitude of the tone, the attitude of the piece, the mood of the piece. So let's try it, okay? Because this is what you're going to do on the worksheets tomorrow. So I'm going to give you 2 examples of what to expect tomorrow. If you read a passage that says, bouncing into the room, she lit up the vicinity with a joyous glow on her face as she told about her fiancé and their wedding plans. What are the specific words that create the feeling, the mood, the tone of that sentence? And what I'd have you do is like underline them, circle them, or highlight them. What words did the author use to create the feeling of that sentence? So here's what you should do. Highlight bouncing, lit, joyous, glow, fiancé, wedding. If you look at those words, what kind of words are these? How would you describe the tone or the mood of those words? If you do that, you might say, if you were to fill in the blanks, what kind of diction contributes to this kind of tone? You might say cheerful diction contributes to the euphoric tone, or uplifting diction contributes to the joyful tone. Okay? Let's do one more. She huddled in the corner, clutching her tattered blanket and shaking convulsively as she feverishly searched the room for the unknown dangers that awaited her. So if you highlighted huddled, clutching, shaking, convulsively, feverishly, unknown dangers, what type of diction do all those words seem to have that contributes to what type of tone? So you might say frightening diction, words that show fear, contributes to an alarming, scary, be on the lookout type of tone. Okay? So that's what you're going to do tomorrow. You're going to highlight the important piece words in the piece and then say what type of diction they are and how they contribute to what type of tone. And you also are going to have to identify what's the denotative meaning of words, the dictionary definition of words, and what's the connotative meaning of words. And what types of words are you finding? What types of diction are you finding in some of the passages? Are you finding formal words or informal colloquial words? Are you finding like foreign words? Are you finding slang words? Are you finding monosyllabic words where there's only one syllable? Or are you finding words that have many syllables in them? So things like that, just like you saw on this. So hopefully you understand everything, but if you don't, ask me questions tomorrow as you're working through these worksheets. And I will see you then.